All right, we're live. Hey guys, I'm Anthony with Anthony's Fishy Friends. Over here we got, there we go. Been a while since I've done this. Over here we got Chewy, and right down there we got Chattanooga Ed. We got this video to go ahead and open on up the show, so let me get that up right here.
They were scrutinized and studied, perhaps almost as narrowly as a man with a microscope might scrutinize the transient creatures that swarm and multiply in a drop of water. With infinite complacence, people went to and fro over the earth about their little affairs, serene in the assurance of their dominion over this small, spinning fragment of solar driftwood, which by chance or design, man has inherited out of the dark mystery of time and space. Yet across an immense ethereal gulf, minds that are to our minds as ours are to the beasts in the jungle, intellects, vast, cool, and unsympathetic, regarded this earth with envious eyes and slowly and surely drew their plans against us. In the 39th year of the 20th century came the Great Disillusionment. Near the end of October, business was better. The war scare was over. More men were back at work. Sales were picking up. On this particular evening, October 30th, the Crosley service estimated that 32 million people were listening in on radios. Not much change in temperature. A slight atmospheric disturbance of undetermined origin is reported over Nova Scotia, causing a low-pressure area to move down rather rapidly over the northeastern states, bringing a forecasted rain accompanied by winds of light gale force. Maximum temperature 66, minimum 48. This weather report comes to you from the Government Weather Bureau. We take you now to the Meridian Room in the Hotel Park Plaza in downtown New York, where you will be entertained by the music of Raymond Raquello and his orchestra.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. From the Meridian Room in the Park Plaza Hotel in New York City, we bring you the music of Raymond Raquello and his orchestra. With a touch of the Spanish, Raymond Raquello leads off with La Capacita.
Ladies and gentlemen, we interrupt our program of dance music to bring you a special bulletin from the Intercontinental Radio News. At 20 minutes before 8 Central Time, Professor Farrell of the Mount Jennings Observatory, Chicago, Illinois, reports observing several explosions of incandescent gas occurring at regular intervals on the planet Mars. The spectroscope indicates the gas to be hydrogen and moving toward the Earth with enormous velocity. Professor Pearson of the observatory at Princeton confirms Farrell's observation and describes the phenomenon as, quote, like a jet of blue flame shot from a gun, unquote. We now return you to the music of Raymond Raquello, playing for you in the Meridian Room of the Park Plaza Hotel, situated in downtown New York.
Mermaid, real or fake? We'll be exploring the cool and mysterious underwater world of one of the most mythical creatures of all time. We are not exactly sure what to think about it. Before we jump into it, how much do you know about mermaids? Yeah, those mermaids, the half-human woman, and half fish. That's supposedly the secluded depths of the vast oceans. Tales of these women with tails, see what I did there, are spoken throughout numerous cultures, including the Americas, Europe, Asia, and Africa. With all that said, check out this clip that was captured at an unknown location. This is supposedly the mythical mermaid, lying alone on the shore, basking under the sun as she appears to take a nap. Check out the detail in the tail, and the way that it flickers up and down. Well, there's the frequent real mermaid sightings that have taken place for centuries. Mermaid caught in Puerto Rico. Tourists in Puerto Rico were left stunned after apparently spotting a human-like creature following their boat in a video of their holiday. The clip was shot by Morales Debbie, who was enjoying a punt down the Isabela River in Puerto Rico with her friends. In the footage, the group can be seen speeding down the murky waters, first focusing on the scene in front of them, before taking a shot of the waters behind. The group travels through a tunnel at high speed, before slowing down to take in the surroundings. Things seem normal at first, but moments later something unexpected appears to move under the water. The footage has since been shared widely online, with some even speculating that the figure could be a mermaid. Either they are towing a dead body or there is something that looks humanoid in the water that is chasing them. The natural and supernatural is often on the same realm in the river of Puerto Rico. Mermaid, or just illusions of the brain? Let me know in the comments below. Mermaid Melissa. A blonde freediver has become a real-life Little Mermaid after becoming inspired by the classic Disney film. Mermaid Melissa is so obsessed with the mythical creature she wears her tail every single day and has learned to hold her breath underwater for up to 5 minutes. Met Mermaid Melissa, a person who legally changed their name from Melissa Dawn to Mermaid Melissa to prove how dedicated she was to conforming to her new underwater lifestyle. And for over the last 12 years, Mermaid Melissa has been performing as a full-time mermaid, leaving us with these stunning pictures. Melissa, who's from Florida in the United States, managed to develop the ability to hold her breath underwater for 5 whole minutes. Melissa was now hopeful that her act could help raise environmental awareness for the oceans and marine life. The mermaid in the Greenland Sea. So up next we have a clip of video that comes from a submarine crew that was exploring underwater near Greenland. What they found was pretty remarkable. In March 6, 2013, marine geologist Dr. Torsten Schmidt released extraordinary footage of what he believes to be a mermaid that he captured on camera during one of his deep-sea explorations. Dr. Torsten Schmidt was leading a deep-sea exploration mission to locate sites of oil and natural gas reserves, while at around 1,000 meters below the ocean surface, he saw what he believed to be a mermaid. This apparent mermaid, or what others are calling a marine alien, is clearly down here in the deepest depths of our oceans. It doesn't necessarily have the face we would expect to see of a mermaid, based on what we all would come to expect from the fairy tales and Disney movies, but still, this is certainly something. More on this new species as info becomes available. Mermaid dragged from Minnesota lake. A video posted online seems to show exciting evidence of the existence of mermaid. The video is said to have been shot in Minnesota. The exact location of the lake which features in the clip is currently unknown. In the video, a man calling himself Mackie says that a big military vehicles came into the lakeside park and closed it off. Although attempts were made to clear the public from the park, Mackie managed to stay behind and film the incident. The 4-minute-long cell phone clip shows 2 men in protective yellow hazmat suits dragging what appears to be a mermaid out of the lake. At first, only a fish-like green tail is seen floating in the water. The rest of its body becomes visible after being dragged out of the lake and carried away. Mermaid caught in Russia. When? A few years ago the location was somewhere out in Russia, and I'm warning you, you're going to have to pay attention. because this sighting goes quick. So, the video starts with a fish that's being pinned down underwater by some kind of dart or spear. You can see the fish flopping around and then there. Did you see that the reporter claimed that locals thought that this was definitely the sighting of mermaid, even slow motion 3? We can't tell for sure, but it does look like the tail of this thing is long and flowing just like a mermaid. Interesting. Make sure you drop us a comment or two down there in the comments section, letting us know exactly what you think. This video could be off. Does it just look like a fish for you? Or could it be something more? Mermaids caught at laundromat. Now, we have an odd story that comes from back in the fall of 2018. We are out in Los Angeles. A very strange activity just popped up out of nowhere. An artist named Olivia Erlanger thought it would be a hip and unique way of breaking up the monotony of everyday life by installing these huge lifelike mermaid tails protruding from different machines in her local laundromat. Pretty. Let me know in the comments if you like these mermaids. Mermaid in Karajiam. Karajiam is the only place in the world where a $1 million award is up for grabs for the first person who can provide conclusive footage capturing a real mermaid. The local government has offered this reward in response to the numerous mermaid sightings there. Allegedly, there is a mermaid that appears sometimes at sunset. One of the first people to see the mermaid was Shlomo Cohen. I was with friends when suddenly we saw a woman laying on the sand in a weird way. At first I thought she was just another sunbather, but when we approached she jumped into the water and disappeared. We were all in shock because we saw she had a tail. Cohen was quoted as saying by Israel National News. See the short clip featured below for a taste of what some are claiming to be a real mermaid caught on camera this year at Karajiam.
When your warm blonde hair needs a boost, discover Provoke Liquid Blonde to add vibrancy and shine in just one wash. Our color infusion shampoo instantly creates richness and depth of color for caramel, honey, or golden blondes. Transform your hair with Provoke Liquid Blonde.
All right, there we go.
Awesome.
Well, this is really different for me because the line of programming for the Vault of Metal, like I didn't hear too much metal, nah. But it's just the fact that the Vault of Metal will be coming back in the fall. My host is currently writing his book and all of that kind of stuff, and I've been teaching school. So Rock and Fish came up with this idea that I should invite Chattanooga Ed to this, and basically it's like the four amigos of the TM Fish Mafia, because we're out here on the West Coast and TN is way across in the East area. But I think that there's actually Tennessee members actually in Italy too, TN Mafia. Where else can you find the Mafia but Italy?
Yep.
You know? But I wanted to first off say, like I know that Ed's gone through a lot of issues and I'm waiting to see some video from him. But I also want to thank my friend George for putting together the Biotope Aquarium for this specific Italian Cichlid Association Project Piaba presentation. And what people may or may not know is that each one of these videos that are used by myself get shared into the Italian Cichlid Association's group. And there's a lot of very interesting people that are a part of the Italian Cichlid Association forum. Some very well-known names in the American Cichlid Association. So that is part of it. And the other part of it is I am now doing a lot of publicity work for recording artists that I've known over in Italy for the past 15 years. And so I have asked for permission to use these type of things for educational types of things. So it's sort of like if you're going to be doing a video, you might as well aim it to another larger market and use the 3 songs that are going to be chosen. But so far, I've only got one chosen, and it's called Black Swan, and you'll hear it next week when I present a program on the Black Swan, which is from Australia. But I'm having problems deciding from the rest of their catalog from over 15 years. Like, they have songs in trailers, like movie trailers and stuff like that. Some of it is actually very popular, but I can't decide. I can only decide on the one because it was the first song that we marketed as the start of Belladonna. So that's the difference here. Now, Anthony, you are basically taking over for Raven the Devil of the Vault of Metal. I want you to bring up some factors about what you've seen. Yes. Yes.
Sure. So you're talking about the tank, right?
Yes.
Okay, so George had it set up in a nice 40-gallon tank. I believe it was a 4-foot by about 15-inch deep tank. Had some, I believe, spiderwood in there. No, not spiderwood. I wrote this down, but I left the paper in my car. I could go grab it. But he also had some botanicals in there, had some alder cones and some catappa leaves. So some nice leaf litter at the bottom once it started breaking down. The tannins looked really nice. Had some cardinal tetras in there, but the main attraction was, of course, the checkerboard cichlids.
That's awesome.
And what are your thoughts, Ed, about the tank that George has put together for this project?
Oh man, what I wish I have seen. I haven't seen it yet, but it sounds very neat. You know, I just last month I was at the Knoxville club meeting. I'm kind of in two different clubs. I'm in the Chattanooga and the Knoxville club, and the Knoxville one did a thing on the checkerboard cichlids. So I had an opportunity to actually get them too, because they were like they had a couple bags to give out to people, but I just was like, well, I'm not prepared to take on any cichlids right now since I have so many tanks of live bearers. But I would love to see this tank, some videos of it up and running and going. It'd be pretty neat.
Well, with the Italian Cichlid Club, we have had the pleasure of having Dr. Paul Loisel give a talk. And years ago on my radio show, Dr. Paul Loisel and I talked about Madagascar cichlids. But at the end of the show, I asked, now, basically, what cichlid would you recommend for the beginning hobbyist? And then he went, well, that depends upon your water parameters. But I highly recommend shell dwellers for people with hard water. But for soft water, I really like the checkerboard cichlid. And so,
great choice.
So this is why I went, well, aquaballs, you have that. So, and then he got interested in setting it up properly for the fish to live in rather than having them in harder water. And the fish are showing remarkable color differences. It's sort of like when you keep African cichlids down in like the 7 pH range, their color fades. You're keeping them alive, but you're not doing the fish any good. Fish will tell you whether or not they like the water. Like cardinals, their colors pop out at you in softer water. Whereas if you are like from Calgary, Alberta, it is very, very hard to acclimatize cardinal tetras long before RO units. Like there was only 2 ways of actually wholesaling cardinals up in Calgary, and that was by doing pre-filtering of water with peat and using distilled water or what very little rainwater Calgary would receive during the year. So expense of climatizing these fish in harder water is a lot tougher than one can imagine. And I'm just thankful that Project Piava, Scott Dowd, realizes those factors and climatization stations have been put in place. When you are getting cardinal tetras direct off of the flight from South America, your losses are pretty high, especially coming into a cold climate of North America. Like automatically, you've got the drop in temperature from the unheated cargo bays at the time. Like there was a lot to it, trying to get fish into the hobby back in the 60s.
Yeah, well, and not only were the airplanes not climatized, but they were putting them in metal drums that just got colder too.
Well, that kind of came in handy with black piranhas.
Yeah, I bet it would.
That was the way that we took around the store pet that I worked at. We had a black piranha that was the store pet. You know.
Yeah, I bet that's the safest way to move one of those guys.
Just vicious. It was like, oh my goodness, you know. You had to use like about 12 nets just to catch it, dump it into it. Like it was a 12-inch piranha.
Well, what's like the gallons of George's tank that he's making? Or made?
George's tank is just a 40-gallon tank. Okay, like I asked Dr. Paul if I had a 20-gallon tank, like the average tank that the beginner or hobbyist might start up keeping cichlids. Okay, I said 20-gallon, and he agreed with the size, and so he just said definitely shelf dwellers from Lake Tanganyika and from South America. I pick the checkerboard cichlid. And for somebody that, like, I grew up in Calgary, but my move to BC, the water has softened, so I can keep other fish in comparison to Calgary direct water. Calgary direct water is like living in the Rift Valley. The only difference is that it has more salt in the water. Like the Rift Valley is on salt beds like you wouldn't believe.
Well, maybe I'll try to make one too. I've got 2 spare 40s, but I was planning on putting Goodiots in one and Synodonis in another. But I'll think about it because I can get those guys. And he was the guy that has them. He says he has millions of them because they breed like crazy. And he needed botanicals because there's a shortage, I guess, at the shops in Knoxville. And so James and I said we'd give him some botanicals, no problem. We got plenty. So, but I bet you he would give me some, no problem, for free.
Right. So now let's go back to another subject, okay?
Yeah.
Guppies.
Yes.
Okay. George and I have this project, the Rio Negro project. Like, I know that George is into guppies too, but your project with George and I is very, very special to me. You know that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've been trying to build a second room just for line breeding. So I haven't got there yet, but I think I've got a couple of 5 gallons. I think I might set up and try to work it out for those guys to try to just put, just pairs in.
My last one for the night.
Anyhow, now let's get into the fact of mythology. Now, this comes into fantasy and all of that kind of stuff, and that kind of would push my regular show host, Raven the Devil, into like the mythology of the bad of mermaids. And basically the mermaid was originally have feathers and were called sirens.
Yeah.
Did you know that, Ed?
I did know that. And they used to sing and try to bring the guys into the water and kill them that way.
Right. So they must have had really, really beautiful female voices to attract male, or were they more like the fish of, let's say, Daryl Hannah, the big splash, right? Where she wishes to be with the guy so much that she loses her fins.
Yeah, I think it's more like a vampire, how they can put a spell on you to make you fall in love with them,
Mm-hmm.
to trick you in.
Exactly. And, what would a kiss of a mermaid be like? Like that animation that you saw in the program is actually like a safety belt, a warning kind of a thing for the French government. Okay, like they want that out there, right? Like to make sure that you've got your lifesaver on. But the part that got me was in the movie Splash, when she kissed that guy. He didn't need no scuba air like Marco does to go down to that area. You think back to that movie.
Yeah.
But on another more factual side of it, what does mermaid stand for, Ed?
Okay, well, this is just because you told me beforehand.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, I want to make it Shepherds of the Sea.
No, servants of the
Servants of the Sea. Darn it.
Like a maid is a servant, right?
Yeah.
And her stands for of the sea. So are we not all, in ways, all servants of the sea?
We hope to be.
Mm-hmm. And, like we look at the facts of the mythology, but we also see and sometimes hear the fact of how mermaids affect us in entertainment, music, animation, TV shows, and then you see the cryptozoology side of it, where that scientist down there is identifying something that certainly did look like it had 5 fingers.
Yeah. Well, they have a skeleton in the Denmark National Zoo, or not Zoo, National Museum of a mermaid.
Yeah.
So yeah, they've been mentioned all around the world, worldwide, just like they said there.
Right.
I love any type of sea monster or anything from the ocean. I'd love to read stories about, listen to stories about. So yeah, I love it. That's why I'm a big Cthulhu fan, because he's an ocean guy.
But I also like the fact that it's played into, shall we say, the American culture down in Florida in a big way, because like you got the mermaids of Weeki-Wachee, Florida, which have been around since around the 60s time period, right?
That's awesome.
And they're still going. There have been a few parks that have shut down, but like Mermaid Melissa was mentioned, and then I happen to know this one. Her name is Hannah Fraser. She's the daughter of the bass player of the band Free, and she has done remarkable types of work in stopping shark fin soup and has given talks on TED Talks, and she was influenced by Hannah Mermaid and Little Mermaid. Did you ever have a mermaid as an ornament in your fish tank?
I've never actually had one in my fish tank, but I own several.
Well,
I have a collection.
my first little ceramic, like I am looking for this, okay? Like this is part of this kind of thing that I'm looking for. I'm actually looking for a ceramic mermaid from around the 60s in an aquarium with fish in it. Because I remember mine. It was the last ornament to leave my aquariums when I went like biotope and more natural scape.
Can you
But
describe
that-
it to me? Like, was it a girl hiding behind some coral or sitting on a large?
It was just sitting on a rock. She was a redhead, okay? And generally, her hair covered her breasts, right? And she had a green tail.
Well, I may have a couple from the 60s. They're remakes. Zoom Ed made them, and they didn't do well. And they ended up giving them away free at the ALA last year, and I took as many as I could.
So much for old ornaments, eh?
Yeah, but I could run down and get one for you. It'd take me about 2 minutes to see if it's what it looks like.
It in the tank and let's have some fun.
Unfortunately, all my tanks are downstairs. Well, I have one now up here that I've set up for my mom. But would you like me to run and get it real quick?
Oh no.
Okay, I'll get it some other time.
Unless you want to show it, right? Unless you want to actually.
Well,
but I,
it would just be amazing, though, if we could find the exact same one that was remade for you, and I'd mail it out to you on Monday if I happen to have the right one. But they made about 12
with water and fish in it. It would just be there, like.
Yeah, you'd have to add it into his tank.
I'm so far unable to keep a tank, you would not believe it. Like, I'm wheelchair bound, right? Like, severely. And I've been put in isolation due to my health, due to COVID and all of that sort of stuff. And I've kept myself rather safe. But it's like when you have the injuries that I have and you can't even do what you love anymore, like physically, it's hard.
Oh, yeah, I know. I'm sorry, buddy.
But thank goodness in the news yesterday, they've okayed mushrooms for to be actually cultivated in Canada now.
ABC, Kenny was just talking about that earlier today. Not about the Canadian side, but just the how it can help. That's awesome.
Well, in Oregon, they have actually licensed to obtain mushrooms. So I have a feeling that our mushroom plant is going to be supporting a lot of the American demand.
Oh, that's awesome.
Right? So here in BC. So I was so happy to hear that news today.
Yeah.
Because if I send out somebody to go and pick it for me, right, they get busted. But if I go out and pick it, oh, you're medical? Oh, okay.
Yeah, but it's pretty hard for you to go out into a field.
Exactly. So they're solving some of the issues for those that have got Great Depression and great PTSD. And that is part of it, right? So I'm more than happy to know about that. But, I am very happy to basically do this show with you guys because I know that George was excited about putting together this tank, and I want to thank him a lot for doing that. Because if I could do it, I will, but I can't.
And it does look good. Looks
I
better
do
in
think
person than in the video.
I do things in this hobby that helps the hobby that kind of goes unnoticed. You know, but it's all through the Aquarium Society.
Well, that's super cool. And I tell you what, though, I'm not going to rest until we get you your ornament. if I have to make it myself, I will. But yeah, for sure.
You know, because it was my first little ornament, and it went in with these pintail black, half black yellow tailed guppies that bred true, but they were falling apart. Like, I've learned that they were falling apart because of the fact of the black edges around the tail. As soon as those begin to get too wide, your line is falling apart and the black zine is taking over the tail. Right?
Yep.
So, but they were true breeding for like a 12-year-old kid that liked them. I loved them as much as IFTA guppies. I like all kinds of guppies.
I agree with you. Hi, Adele. Thanks for showing up.
So I figured that we covered everything. How do you guys feel about that?
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
I had a good time. And anytime you want to talk about USOs, I'm more than happy to. Also, it stands. You know what a UFO is? A USO is unidentified things in the ocean.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And I think mermaids count as that for sure. And like that, the video that you saw, I think I've seen all that footage just in different places. So it was pretty neat. I was hoping that they would show my favorite ones, the guys that were way up on top of the cliff looking down on a little rock.
Right.
And the mermaid jumps. And so yeah, I think it's pretty neat.
Let's see if we can get George up here to show the tank real quick.
Oh, that would be wonderful.
George, go ahead and check your messages, man.
Yeah, George should be up here, but.
And
I want to thank you, Anthony, for making sure that this ran as smoothly as possible.
The only other person I know of, my lovely other half, to see that tank agrees with me. Gorgeous in person.
Priscilla's so cool. Hey, Filosky. Good to have you here.
Yes. Hello, everyone.
I want to say hi to everybody, too. I feel bad.
And thank you for doing this on such short notice, by the way.
Oh, for sure. Well, you know, Chewy, I had no idea what was going on. all I was told was, Chewy needs somebody to talk about mermaids. Will you do it? And so I was like, okay. And I didn't know if you were going to be here or I was like taking your spot or what the deal was, but I was like, I'll do it anyway. Anything Chewy wants, I'll do.
Well, basically, it was going to be sort of like set up with George, but we couldn't guarantee like the internet and that kind of stuff. And then he's looking after his child, and I went, well, why don't we ask Anthony? Since we are the three amigos, you know.
That is nice.
And you're the fourth amigo.
Oh, well, thank you. I'll be the Dan Aykroyd one that wasn't in the movie.
Didn't sound bad with your mic unmuted, George.
So it looks like he's got Spiderwood and
Manzanita.
Manzanita. Thank you.
I knew I'd remember eventually. I seriously stopped by the Dollar Tree bought a notepad and a pen so I could write information down, and I left it in my car.
Oh man, that is a neat tank. And that's what the checkerboards are going to like? Is a tank like this? Real rivery looking one?
They seem to like it in George's.
That's awesome. That is really neat. I wonder what's a native snail to that. Oh, you know what? The cichlids would eat the snail, I bet. I bet the checkerboards would eat any snails in there.
Yeah, we don't want to have any snails in that tank, but
Oh, there's one.
I'm thinking of a pleco once, or one of the other autos that may come out of that area. I still have to look at all of the fish that come out of the Rio Negro and the attaching tributaries.
Bob, I agree with you. I think that's a gorgeous tank that George did. He is so talented.
Bob is another guy that has supported me greatly. Like the Godfather,
Yep.
I've done several videos with Bob. All I do is leave him a message. I'm using this. But this is more or less what the Fish Fam is supposed to be more about, is helping people with, and helping the societies that are actually supporting the industry. You know, like we all look at the manufacturers, but it's like the people of the American Cichlid Association. It's the people of the American Live Bearer Association. All of these various different associations are part of the Fish Fam too.
Yep. That's the group the next organization I'm going to join. They're the native fish here in America. So they're pretty cool.
Well, I've been following native fish because up here in Canada, only one province allows us to keep them. So I follow what I can't keep, so I don't get too kind of wrapped up into it, right? If you can't keep it, then you don't have to worry about it. You can study about it.
Bob and I are going to try, I think it's next weekend. We're going to try to go down to Atlanta to hear one of their big guys in their organization. I don't know if it's their president, vice president, but it's one of their top officials is doing a talk for the Atlanta Fish Club. And Bob and I thought it would be pretty neat to go listen to him speak for sure.
I really miss like aquarium club meetings a lot. Like, the last one I went to, I got to hear a guy from St. Louis,
Gary Lang?
Mike Hellwig speak.
Oh.
And I also got to hear Burger Camprath speak, and he's actually from our aquarium society anyhow, but his specialty is synodontics. He's like one of the Planet Catfish people.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, when I first joined my first aquarium club, it was the St. Louis one, and they weren't very welcoming. They were kind of all a bunch of older guys that just hung out with themselves, you know, and it wasn't very cool. And all I wanted to do was start a new club when I moved here, because I had all the time in the world. Once I hurt my back, I couldn't play sports anymore. So I wanted to start a club where everybody would be welcomed and be friends. And instead I found Fish Tube, you know, the Fish Fam. But just like in the last 2 years, we've gotten clubs in Knoxville and Chattanooga. It's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I only went a few times before the whole world situation hit, and then I haven't gone since. But now I'm kind of scared to go now that I've really downsized at least a third of my tanks, or
You
two
afraid to
thirds.
bring too much home?
Yeah, because even I go to a certain somebody's place over there. Right there. That guy over there.
What
You know
I
how much
find,
that guy over there does. And he's like, hey man, want some? Hey man, want some? Hey man, want some? And George is a really awesome friend to have. But he has a few fish that I'd really like to bring home right now. But with the downsides, I have absolutely no room.
Adele really brings up an interesting subject. Mermaids being manatees or dugongs.
Or yeah, even dolphins.
And Marco actually has some pictures and video of dugongs when he was out in the ocean. And manatees are like a federal animal that there is that type of thing. So it's also the science around the mermaids as well. What
I
are
would
they being compared to?
When the one gal was out there swimming around like a mermaid, I was thinking to myself, man, I wish she could swim by manatees just to see what they would do. You know, if they'd follow her, or they're very peaceful creature, but yet alligators down in Florida fear them. So
What I find funny is you see mermaids of different colored hair. So do you have a preference, Ed?
oh man, I don't know if it might all be seaweed in the end too. What if it's not even hair?
Right.
What if it's more of a fin?
Well, I'm just going by the standard of how we
Traditional.
have mermaids through film.
Oh boy, I don't know. I would probably be afraid of the redheads. I would. That's because that's kind of how it works with humans. Is I always fear the redheads first.
I'm in full agreement.
And I've known some wonderful redheads.
So between me and Hannah was, I still haven't found you a brunette one yet.
I'm telling Zen, Ed.
Yeah, I know. But I don't know if hers is real. Hers pretty much matched my beard.
See, that's what I'm wondering about. Were pirates really that blind to think that an animal that is way bigger than a woman be a female anyhow?
I don't.
These are huge.
Yeah, they are, and I mean, and they come up to the surface. It's not like they're so far down you can't see them. I've gone and seen the manatees.
Like, look at the face of a manatee. Do you think that looks like a woman?
Nothing of. I mean, they have a very unique shape. It's like a little round head, then this huge torpedo body with a perfectly round disc for a tail almost.
Well, GRB is bringing up a factor that goes into part of the myths that I'm talking about. The kiss of a mermaid.
Oh, GRB's here.
Does the kiss of a mermaid make the man a merman?
I don't know. Or they're just mermen and they're all creepy and we don't know what's a boy and a girl. But
Could they be asexual? But I doubt that because of the fact of the mythology behind it.
My favorite superhero is Namor, and he's a merman.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's just he's Marvel's first hero. First superhero they ever wrote was Namor.
I don't know. Can mermen and mermaids go into fresh water? That's what I'd like.
I would think so. Because
The Gillman was a freshwater guy.
porpoises can.
Well, yeah, and
porpoises that just live in freshwater.
and so do manatees. They're fresh and salt.
Yes. Yeah.
I've seen them in the ocean too. They lived all over. My mom and dad used to be snowbirds, and they lived down by where Fishy Dreams lives. And she, oh, I'm sorry, Nico, I just kicked my cat in the head. She lives right in that area where there's manatees everywhere. It's pretty neat. It's really cool to see them in the ocean because you just don't expect it when you're out there. You're not allowed to touch them, but they'll swim right by you out in the ocean. It's pretty neat. In the Gulf of Mexico. And they don't bother. People kids will be on those boards, paddle boards and stuff, and they'll just follow the manatees. The manatees don't mind at all. Man, look at how clean that water looks.
So, what do you think of my favorite fish in the ocean?
Is your favorite fish the mermaid?
No. My favorite fish in the ocean you hardly ever see. It's a deep sea fish. Very deep sea. And it grows very, very long.
Is it the giant squid?
No, a squid is not a fish.
Oh, okay, well, some people call
That's a mollusk.
You are correct. I don't know which one is. I'm trying to think.
They have a tendency of beaching themselves.
Sorry, I had to throw something for Nico. Oh man, they have a problem.
They have a tendency of beaching themselves. And they're usually found around San Francisco, Mexico, and Japan.
Bob says paddlefish.
How about oarfish or earthquake fish?
Earthquake fish. I'm going to check this out.
Oarfish? Is that
There are very few experts in the area. One of the guys who worked at the New England Public Aquarium, it was kind of like his passion too, but there's very few scientists that study that specific fish. Like even Jeremy Wade had to go rely on the specialist in Paris, France.
That's show you how long they are. They're like anacondas.
And they got a beautiful, beautiful headdress. And they're also an emblem in Chinese and
I can see
Japanese folklore.
Man, that's big.
See the headdress, as you're saying? That could be what's on the mermaids.
Yeah.
That's what I was trying.
It's that redhead look, though.
Here we go. I found one of just the head, which is really pretty. Oh. Oh. That is a neat looking fish.
Yep. I've seen live footage of it when they
I wonder what part is the jaw? Where's the mouth? Kind of weird. It kind of makes you guess.
It beached itself in Japan. They put it in an aquarium for a while and then it died.
Oh, that's a bummer.
Well, there's a theory behind why they die. It's the opposite of the bends.
Yeah.
Their bladders get ruined by the earthquake, and they get the bends coming up.
Kind of like a blobfish really isn't the ugliest fish in the world until it comes up.
Yeah.
And then it gets all blobby.
I wonder if there's how long you would have to bring that fish up for it to not become a blob.
It might require pressure because it's such. It might.
It's pressure. Like they have not figured out a couple of things in aquariums. One is pressure, sea volume pressure. We're barely able to bring up Siphotilapia frontosa out of Lake Tanganyika a little, let alone something from deep sea.
I always wondered about that, about when I went to the shed. The shed always had some deep sea fish, and it looked like the tank was completely filled. And I was wondering if they were putting pressure on the top of the water somehow. But maybe those fish were just able to handle the change in altitude, like the change in pressure.
Well, they're just not from like the deep sea area of the ocean. Like they might be a deep ocean fish, but not when the bends occurs, okay?
Yeah.
I am falling asleep, guys. I'm going to have to call this one soon.
Well, thank you so much. It was fun. I appreciate you letting me come on, Chewy.
I enjoyed that. And I enjoyed having George show off the aquarium that he's done a great job on.
I think I spent about 12 hours in a bounce house today with my kiddo for her birthday.
Oh my gosh, I think after 5 minutes, I'd probably be put to sleep and worn out.
Yeah, I think my legs are going to fall off. We'll see if they work in the morning.
You're awesome. That's super cool.
Well, thank you, Chewy. Thank you, Ed.
Thanks for everybody
George.
showing up, and enjoy your fish keeping, and be good to all the pets that you have.
Thank you, everyone in chat. Appreciate you all. Have a good night.
Night, guys.